Incineration Days, the fourth full-length album from Thunraz, an Estonian industrial death metal band who have brought in some pure death metal influences and a lot of experimental craft into their kind of rush of releases leading up to 2024, with quite a lot of work done in the spirit of early Godflesh, where there was a little bit of death metal in that movement. If we go to early Pitch Shifter, to Scorn, to whatever you'd like to pull from early 90s industrial aggression coming into metal, that would apply here in terms of the mechanical use of drums and generally the death metal vibe of it. Of course, the artist is inspired by much more than that, and they've had a lot of different collaborations that have changed the sound throughout time. For this one, they brought in the drummer from who I think he performed in the most recent Grevlar record and plays in, I think, a groove metal band, Ejector. And this has made his work a little bit more organic and a little bit more professional sounding in terms of presenting it beyond like a band camp type of environment. So this record sounds pretty serious, and the artist behind it, Mattis Jalakis, is definitely focused on theme and feeling for this record, as he is in most of his recordings for this band. It is not happy music, it's not upbeat, and it's not populist in any sense. It is based around feeling, and we'll get a taste of that right here, and then I'll talk about what's pretty sharp about this record and what's just okay about it. So there isn't anything particularly novel about industrial death metal, past or present. It has always been an idea that has been heavily explored thanks to drum machines and the widespread popularity of Godflesh in the 90s. Bands like Crawl, Inner Thought, and whatnot all came out at a time where that Godflesh sound is what people wanted, and by I think like Selfless, when that came out, that was maybe more accessible and people wanted underground sounds in that respect. Overall, what this record does about half of the time is really produce mechanistic, aggressive industrial death metal, and some of it is above average and some of it is just kind of average. And with a 28-minute runtime for this record, it balances out in general, where you can tell the more intricate and riff-intensive start of the album soon gives way to more themed tracks that are a simpler industrial sludge sort of driven movement. And so there's a lot of 90s and early 2000s sludginess to a lot of this artist's work, and that bleeds into this record more than expected as we pass through. I think there's a couple notes here. I would say generally his clean vocals have improved in leagues over each record. I think these are some of the better ones. They are not necessarily accessible in any way. They're a little bit weird, and I liked that added a surreal touch to a lot of the more melodic movements on this record. But I think the death metal mode is where he's most interesting as an artist and a guitarist in general. So this is a fine enough record. This is definitely a self-driven labor of emotional intensity, and I think there's a lot of passionate work that went into it, but it doesn't necessarily fit within my taste squarely. So my thoughts are kind of balanced between really liking the artist's intent, enjoying the themes, and generally appreciating a lot of the work that he's done on this record and seeing the potential of it, but also saying, it's not all quite there yet in terms of just perfecting the sound, personalizing it a little bit more, and working on the overall aesthetic of the product as a purchasable thing. So there's pluses and minuses here. I think it balances out to still a pretty moderately high recommendation, a pretty high score for the general public. Probably wouldn't show a ton of interest in this, but there is a lot of good music in here. So for me, my recommendation kind of wavers between really enjoying some of it and thinking the rest of it is pretty average. So still a lot of work to be done here, but I think that this is the best release from the artist to date, and I think it should inspire a lot of people to go back and listen to the idiosyncratic choices made on previous records, which might be more or less to your taste. So a lot to dig into there and to check out. Again, it's still a recommendation for me, and that released on November 22nd. You can check it out now for yourself, or you can read my review and see how that checks out with your own taste.
Tell me